Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 647. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here talking movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. And I'm also here to wish you guys happy Labor Day.
Oh, thank
you.
Early Labor Day.
Well, yes, but by the time people are listening to this, it will be Labor Day.
Sure. If you had thrown weekend on there, it would have applied. But you just said
happy
Labor Day.
Labor Day weekend to you and all of yours at home.
Thank you. I will be celebrating by getting a lot of work done.
Yes. Are your bosses giving you guys off tomorrow?
Well, I work for myself, so no.
Oh, wow, what a jerk.
I worked through Labor Day weekend. Tomorrow I will be taking it off, yes.
So your boss sounds pretty hard, too.
He's
like a real hey, Peter. Need you coming on a Saturday situation.
He's a real jerk.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. A couple of weeks ago, Zach, we were having a conversation about Back to the Future 3 or Back to the Future 2. And your question, we were talking about how the end of Back to the Future 2 is a trailer, essentially, for Back to the Future 3. Mm-hmm. And your question was, have any other movies ever done that? Have they ended the movie with like a trailer for the next movie? And I just watched a movie this week that did that.
Which movie?
This is the new Kevin Costner Horizon: An America's Saga - Part 1.
Sure.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But I didn't know that it was gonna be a montage because it kind of like it's a weird movie because it's all build up because it's part 1 of the story. So there's no conclusions to anything. It's really just characters being introduced and plot lines being introduced in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just cuts to black. And then there's like a 5-minute montage of next time on American Horizon, or whatever Horizon, American Saga Part 2. But I didn't know it was a montage at first. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is all very odd editing. And then I'm like, oh, I think this is the next movie.
Sure.
So
that's funny. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, then there you go.
I think maybe they may have done it at the end of Matrix Reloaded as well.
The second Matrix?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they filmed 2 and 3 back to back.
And
they did that with one of the Pirates movies too.
Oh, I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
It could have been like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 or something like that.
I don't remember. One of them.
Well, if you guys really like 3-hour-long TV pilots, then you should see Horizon: An America's Saga - Part 1.
Part 1 is 3 hours alone?
It's 3 hours alone, yes.
Wow.
Do you recommend it?
It's hard to recommend it. It's hard to judge it because it's half a movie. And we're not talking like Dune half a movie. Like at least Dune gave us a bit of an arc over that part 1 of the story. This is literally just like we're just going to do a hard cut in what would be a 6-hour story.
Have you guys ever seen the Hatfield?
I guess if you're really into like
McCoys?
Kevin Costner or Westerns, like it looks beautiful, but it's really hard to say like if it's worth the 3 hours because I don't know what's coming after it.
Have you guys ever seen the Hatfield and McCoys from 2012?
Is that a movie or a series?
It's a mini series.
Okay.
It also has Kevin Costner in it. And if you want to see something good, that's a little bit of like him returning to the Western, you should check that out. It was great.
Okay.
It was awesome. 2-hour episodes, 3 episodes, so 6 hours long. And it's like movie quality from my memory.
That's what Horizon feels like it should have been. This should have been like a movie quality miniseries instead of trying to force it into a theatrical release.
Yeah, this was on the History Channel, which seems odd. You wouldn't expect them to like make something that's like on that level. But I really enjoyed it. 71% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not the greatest score, but not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Isn't Bill Paxton in that also?
Yeah.
All right.
One of them plays the top Hatfield and the other one plays the top McCoy.
But which one's the real McCoy?
Don't know. I wish I could remember the lead singer of that. That would have been perfect timing, but I don't remember.
Of the real McCoy.
Lead singer.
Can you name a song by the real McCoy? What was their one hit?
I don't know. Can you?
No. Was it Be My Lover? Was that the one?
Oh, yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't remember. Okay.
The Real McCoys. Evidently, a lot of things are called The Real McCoys.
Another Night.
Oh yes, another
Oh,
night, another night, another
night,
dream.
another
Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Yep.
Good 90s dance music for sure. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Cinereelists you're listening to, episode 647. We appreciate you joining us this week. On the show today, we are going to talk our top 10 American films released in the month of September. So no specific year, just any year released in September. That's all it takes for a movie to qualify for one of our lists, inclusion in one of our lists. You might be asking yourself why we're doing this list, and we'll get to that.
I'm asking us why we're doing this list.
Sure. Well, you'll have to wait like everybody else.
I just assumed it's because we're in the month of September.
I'm probably hyping up
Was
the
that
reason
naive?
way more than it needs to be. No, that's not naive. That's certainly part of the reason.
I know
Maybe
something about.
The other reason might be we couldn't think of anything else to do.
I mean, could it be that September is traditionally the lowest performing month of the year?
And you guys are spoiling all the stuff right now.
This is
pretty much.
Okay.
All these theories are correct. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything. James, I cannot wait to be blown
It's
away
fine.
by why you chose this list.
The success of this episode depends on this cliffhanger. All right. So
Okay.
lay off the content for a minute.
Did Cliffhanger come in September?
No.
Oh, okay. That would have been really good.
I need to rewatch that.
I've never seen it.
Really? That and Beetlejuice? What is wrong with you, man?
Yeah, those two missed.
Actually, Cliffhanger's not. I will not stump for that movie because I don't really remember it. I saw it once. But Beetlejuice, you should have seen by now. Before we jump into our list for this week, I need to remind you there's a video version of this podcast. Go check us out on YouTube, search Cinereelists, and watch while you listen. You could support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Support the podcast, get extra after show audio, amongst other Cinereelist swag. You could also leave us an Apple Podcast review. That's free and pretty easy to do if you have an iPod or an iPhone.
An iPod? Like, just hop on your iPod Touch, find your podcast app.
I mean, you could listen to podcasts on an iPod, right? An iPod Touch.
I don't know who has an iPod still. That's what I'm trying to say.
Some people do. They sell for a lot of money on eBay.
iPods do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, because few people buy them.
And also there aren't that many left in the world that anybody would want to buy.
Yeah.
So, but they're still worth something. People still find value in them for sure.
I loved my iPod and it just got stolen.
Oh, I have a pile of iPods. I will happily sell them to you for overpriced.
You have an iPod?
Touches?
I have iPods. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's like
hook
one
me up.
that's like lying on the ground over there on the other side of this
Dude.
half wall.
Dude, hook me up with an iPod.
If they're in decent condition, you need to search them up on eBay. You might be sitting on a couple $100 there.
But these are like the 30-pin ones. Like people still want the 30-pin? The big old pin
People
on the
want
bottom?
the iPod 1.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because that's like the first in a series. Like I understand wanting the first of something.
The ones that sell for like hundreds of dollars have been modded.
To do what?
There's a big mod community like that modified with additional hardware, with modern hardware.
Like Bluetooth on them. Right, 'cause that's the other thing is their batteries are all shot. So like you can't run them on a battery.
They basically like add a ton of modern technology into them. And that's what people are buying for like $600.
So wow, 600 feels like you could get an iPhone at that point, like an old.
Yeah,
iPhone.
they don't want an iPhone; they want an iPod.
All right. Also, you could send us a listener email. heyguys@cinereelists.com. Send us an email with a comment, question, list suggestion, movie suggestion, any of those kinds of things, and we will discuss it on a future episode, most likely. Also, just to rewind for a second for Patreon listeners, just a reminder. The after show for current Patreon supporters will change podcast feeds from the current feed to the Patreon hosted feed. This will happen relatively soon. So if you haven't made the switch, do it now. And if you don't know how to do that, just log into Patreon and your custom feed should be right there. If you have any problems, email me, james@cinereelists.com, and I will help you out. You guys ready to get into our list for this week?
As
No.
long as you tell us why we're doing this list. I've been waiting on tenterhooks over here.
Not yet. First,
Let's rank some movies.
well, maybe we'll explain it first. This is our top 10 American films released in September. This was my list idea. It's one I've been thinking about, and the main reason I was thinking about it is because Kyle guessed it. The common, I don't know, thinking is that as of mid-August to like maybe mid-November, it's like the doldrums of theater releases. It's where the studios go to dump all their crap. Like it's too early for Oscar hopefuls, and it's too late for summer blockbusters. And so you get a lot of horror movies, a lot of them awful, and a lot of like indie dramas that didn't do very well at TIFF and Sundance, basically, released in these months. But that doesn't mean nothing good ever gets released in September. Wait, was that the right statement? Whatever. Good things do get released in September. Maybe not as often, but they do get released in September. And so I thought maybe we would just run down a list of those in an attempt to fill a week when there's not much else to talk about.
Can we call this list the diamonds in the rough?
If you want to categorize your picks as that, sure.
Oh, well, I got some picks.
I think my list is like bangers, basically, all the way down for sure.
I will say your list is a little bit different than what I put together because you said American movies. Mine are not all American.
Oh, okay.
But they still got released in September.
Well, we can adjust it to films released in September.
Okay.
Wow, I didn't know we were making a woke list, Zach. Jeez.
I know.
I'm sorry if you only watch Pablum.
I just figured since it was Labor Day weekend, we'd stick with America. But if you want to go all European on us.
There's only labor in America.
Well, Comrade Zach is going to
first.
start first here then.
Wait,
No, James,
Labor Day is an American holiday, right? That's not like a global holiday.
No,
it's an American holiday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying there's labor everywhere.
Right. But Labor Day weekend and Labor Day is an American thing.
True. What's that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying that's why I've
This
included
isn't
it in the
Labor Day
list.
movies. Wait. You included America in the list because the month also includes the holiday of Labor Day this year.
I believe Labor Day
Retroactively,
is
once we
traditionally
started
in
this
September.
discussion, yes.
I don't
James,
think
why
Labor
don't
Day
you
can
go
be in
first and
August.
show us how it's done?
Okay.
Yeah.
I will.
Let's rank some movies.
My number 10, most favorite movie released in September is All of Me from 1984. This movie has come up a couple times since I watched it, which was not that long ago. It's probably been a year or two since I've seen All of Me, and it shot up to the top of my list. My list being like my all-time movies list. I don't know where it would rank. I probably need to place it somewhere in my top 600 because clearly I like this movie. It's coming up often. I probably need to rewatch it to make sure I still agree with my original ranking. But All of Me is a Carl Reiner movie starring Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin. Steve Martin gets possessed through a bunch of shenanigans with the spirit of Lily Tomlin, and but he still has agency, like self-agency or whatever you'd call that. And so Lily Tomlin, who has possessed him, controls a piece of his mind, but also he can fight back, type of thing. And so when she's trying to get his body to do things, he, in the most slapstick and silly ways, will resist it. Especially like depending on the situation, he's either resisting it hard or resisting it just because he doesn't want to do it, type of thing. And so it's basically a slapstick comedy with Steve Martin kind of in his prime at the time, 1984. Like this is a guy who had recently left Saturday Night Live and was making a go at being a big movie star, and was doing it at the time. He was becoming a very, very big movie star. And I found this movie super charming and interesting, and I was shocked that I hadn't seen it until just a few years ago, because it seems like the kind of movie that I think should have enough of a following that it should have stayed in the public consciousness. And yet, since I'm the perfect surrogate for what is in the public consciousness, I didn't know about all of me. And I think more people should. And that's why I put it at my number 10 slot.
Is this the movie with Steve Martin, like in the clouds on the poster?
Both him and Lily Tomlin are in the
Okay, are they both on
clouds.
the poster? All right.
Yes.
I was picturing the right movie poster then. This movie has come across my eyes a couple times. I'm intrigued by it. So,
All right. Well, if you want to have 2 hours of fun with a movie, hit play.
I mean, it's also interesting that these are all movies where the studios thought these will not be good, or these not be, maybe not good. These won't be hits.
Right. I take that back.
So,
If you want 93 minutes with credits, hit play.
Oh, that's even better.
Short movie. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. My number 10 is The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, which premiered in France in September. In America, it premiered later.
Disqualified.
Why? Because it was released in its home country.
No, this is
It's
Labor
a
Day.
Buñuel
And we're
film.
supplying labor. Go ahead.
I've talked about this movie a ton. Basically, every movie on my list I've talked about a lot because they're all like my favorite movies from this month. It's like 1/12 of the year. So I do like this movie a lot, especially if you like surrealist cinema, or if you haven't seen surrealist cinema, watch this or Exterminating the Angel and just have a good time. But I feel like it's a proper time to announce that because my top 10 list is fairly uninspired because it's just movies that I talk about all the time. I also created a second companion list, and I'll spend the majority of my time talking about movies from this second list. These are September films I haven't seen, but am very interested in seeing.
Okay.
And so my number 10 for that is Mr. Nobody from 2009. This is a Jared Leto movie along with Sarah Polley. And it is a sci-fi, like trippy kind of sci-fi movie where Jared Leto wakes up and he's suddenly like super old in the future or something like that. And it's supposed to be super like confusing and intellectual and like crazy and trippy and whatever. And it always pops up in like, oh, you like this movie? You'd also like this movie. I've seen it so many times in that context. And I don't like Jared Leto, and I don't really want to watch more movies with him. But I am very intrigued by Mr. Nobody. Have either of you seen it?
No, but it's another movie that always pops up in the "you would like this" column. Yeah.
I have seen it. I watched it in the Letterboxd era on the 5th of August, 2013. I gave it 1 star.
Ooh.
And I'll read you the review. It's pretty short.
Fantastic.
I wrote this, 11 years ago.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to like this, but I can't. Yes, I get it. I understand what Leto and company are selling here. I just ain't buying. Plays like a pretentious Cloud Atlas, if you can imagine that.
Cloud Atlas seems pretty pretentious. So interesting.
Yep.
All right. I like it.
Nice. Zach, I like your companion list idea. That's a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
My number 10 is a 2011 movie called Drive. This is directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Refn?
Yeah.
Just how it's spelled? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. This stars Ryan Gosling as a stunt driver who also participates in heists and other crimes. And he has to commit a heist to protect Carey Mulligan, who's this woman he's met. And this movie is very stylistic. It's very colorful. It's very violent at times. It has like shocking moments of violence that you're not expecting. And I think this is a movie that has been discussed on this podcast quite a bit. So I too made a companion list because Zach and I colluded shortly before this podcast. And my list is also of movies from September I've not seen, but I'm interested in.
Nice.
And my number 10 most interested is Once Upon a Time in Mexico by Robert Rodriguez. Now, this is part of a
I've
trilogy.
seen that.
Oh, you have seen that. Okay. This is
Yeah.
part of a trilogy, kind of, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Or the spiritual trilogy is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I haven't seen I've not seen many Robert Rodriguez movies overall. I would say he's not a director whose style I gravitate towards, but I've always been interested in these in this series. Especially, I kind of want to watch them in the order of like Once Upon a Time. What's the first one? Desperado,
Mexico.
the first one?
Oh,
Or
Desperate. No. You're talking about go ahead. I'll remember.
Okay. Isn't Once Upon a Time in Mexico kind of like a big budget remake of his first like
Yeah.
small budget indie? So what's the small budget indie movie called? Is that also called Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
No, I'd have to look it up.
It's like
Okay.
The Gunfighter or something like that.
Or The Gunslinger?
No, it's not that, but it's something like that.
Okay. So yeah, I'm really interested in watching both of them.
El
Probably close-
Mariachi.
El Mariachi, thank you. Yeah. So I want to see El Mariachi first, see like the small budget version of it, and then watch it again via Once Upon a Time Mexico to sort of see like what happens when he's got a bunch of money now. So
I mean, Desperado is the remake of El Mariachi.
oh, okay. Well, then I'll just
he
watch all
pulled
three
He
of them.
pulled an Evil Dead where he like made a movie for nothing, and then
Okay.
it was a hit, and then he made another one that's very similar with money and a big star. Like he traded in some stars for a bigger star.
Should I just watch all three then?
You should.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
they're good.
Great. Then I will do it. I watch all three of these early Robert Rodriguez movies.
Nice.
In the month of September.
Only in the month of September.
Exactly.
I got 30 days to do it.
So wait, all three of them were released in September?
Oh, I don't know. No, the only one that popped up was Once Upon a Time Mexico. But it brought us to two more great. Hey, we already talked about how this list is inaccurate. The one, our master list we use. So
Hey, my list is completely accurate.
Have you double checked them?
I don't believe that.
Triple checked. My number 9 is from 2019. It's Monos, which made my top 20 list for that year. I don't remember where it was, but it's a great movie set in Colombia. You've got these teenagers who are kind of like guerrilla fighters for an illegitimate government, basically, and they're up in the mountains. They've been told by a commander who is much older than them to like basically hold this mountain, essentially, like don't let anybody through, just kill them or whatever. And this American woman, I think she's American, English speaking woman, gets caught by them. And so you've got these mostly teenage boys who have held this woman hostage in the mountains, and she's kind of witness to them and their infighting and their issues being a cohesive group, right? There's like a self-proclaimed leader of the teenagers, and some people don't like what he's doing or his tactics. He puts others at danger. It's kind of a Lord of the Flies kind of situation. She's just kind of like, one, disturbed because she's been kidnapped. Two, disturbed because these teenagers, they don't know what they're doing at all. And yet they've been given guns and a territory and an objective type of thing. And the kids are just kind of like waiting for somebody to tell them that they did a good job and they're done, or that the war is over, or just any kind of signal on what to do next. And so it's not necessarily like a super pleasant movie to watch, but it's really, really well made with great acting from faces that you've never seen before. And I just found it super intriguing and engrossing and easy to watch. I think it was a nominee for Best Foreign Film for that year or something like that. And I think it deserved it. I wish it had won, but I don't believe it did. My number 9, Monos. Check it out.
So you just said this is a foreign film.
Sure.
So not American.
But it came out in the United States.
Oh, okay.
How do you spell it?
MONOS.
So it's monos,
Sure.
monkeys.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that Spanish for monkeys?
Yeah, manos means hands. So I was just curious which it was.
Gotcha.
Well, there's the famously bad movie Manos: The Hands of Fate,
Exactly.
but this is a different movie, obviously.
All right. My number 9 is The Woman King, which is a movie we did a whole episode on. I really liked that one. It was the Viola Davis leads this all female warrior, unit in this, like 18th century African nation. And they were just like incredible. And the movie I just really, really connected with for some reason. I really liked it a lot. But we did a whole episode on that. An episode we haven't done is one on my alternative number 9, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
I saw this on the list too. I was intrigued by this movie.
Yeah, it's intriguing, right? This is a 1983 British-Japanese war film directed by Nagisa Oshima, and it is a POW movie from World War II where David Bowie is in a Japanese POW camp. And the movie is supposed to be about the culture clash between the Americans or the British, sorry, he plays a British officer, and the Japanese. And I'm just very intrigued to see this kind of like, culture clash, World War II POW movie with David Bowie in it. And I just think the images I've seen from it are very striking, and I've heard it has a really good score. And yeah, I'm very curious about this. Also, the title, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, sounds like a bad title. And so I need to watch it to really make my final decision on that.
Do you think this is a potential Christmas episode movie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
we've
I
done
hope so.
movies that take place at Christmas. We've never done a list of movies that actually have Christmas in the title.
Oh, yeah.
But this one certainly does.
I blind bought this on Criterion.
Okay,
Had,
great.
no,
Criterion
had no
release.
clue what it was until you started describing it. And I was like, I think I have this.
Nice.
Um,
Well, it's a
I'm-
David Bowie POW movie.
I'm down to make it one of our 3 for this year.
Rock on.
Done. Is that Zach's official pick for this year?
Easy. Wow. Guys, it's not even Halloween yet, and we're talking Christmas.
I'm ready.
September can be lots of things.
I don't care about Halloween anymore.
You don't care about Halloween?
No, I don't care.
Is it
about
because you're an adult who doesn't have like small kids
Probably.
who lives in a I know you live in a condo complex. Do people come to your door?
If I get anybody knock, I can turn all my lights on.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 groups of kids.
Do you,
Maybe.
I-
Some years, none.
right. I've never been to your condo. Do
Mhm.
you have a front door to the outside, or is your door like within a hallway? So you have to go through multiple doors to get to you.
Front door to the outside.
Okay.
But he's also upstairs.
Mhm.
So he's not on the like ground level.
And there's not that many kids in my neighborhood.
Right. I mean, I'll say as an adult, I don't care much about Halloween, but
Mhm.
my son is into it. So henceforth, like the fact that he finds joy in it, I care about that.
No, I get it. I'm not mad
Yeah.
at other people for being into it. I'm
Okay, I
just,
thought you were
I'm just
like a
saying,
Halloween hater.
I'm just
So,
saying I don't care anymore. I think I stopped
ever
caring.
Have you ever gone downtown during Halloween?
Many, many years ago, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been to
I went-
Halloween Horror Nights. I've done all the Halloween things.
I went once in like 2006 or something
Mm-hmm.
with a video camera and just interviewed people
Why?
I
Just for the fun of it?
just for the fun of it. It's so crazy down there. And maybe this is 2007. And I rewatched the footage later and it's like so interesting just as a time capsule.
Do you still have it?
Oh yeah, totally. I watched it like a couple months ago.
Do you have a digitized version of it?
Yeah.
You should post it.
I was like asking people who are they going to vote for and stuff. And this was
Pre-Obama?
Obama versus McCain.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You got to link me up on that Come on.
Yeah, it's fun.
Is it on
It's fun.
YouTube?
No.
Where is
I
it?
don't know how much work you want to put in, but like I see a lot of videos now of like camcorder footage from like high school in 1997. And it's just like short snippets. If you want, you can make a whole account and just call this like, whatever the Halloween celebration is, 2007. And just like every week post like a 10-second clip, like vintage style. That could hit. Like people love those.
All right.
Like run it through a filter to make it look like it's even worse quality.
Oh, it's pretty bad quality.
Okay, or maybe don't don't
it's
degrade it
just,
too much.
It's the perfect amount of quality.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could be extra work, but you might get like a little viral account going on if you just post
All right.
those weekly.
Not to
Alright.
derail this further, but there's a video on YouTube from the 90s. I think it's like 95 or 96. It's like 18 minutes in a 7-Eleven from 1995 or 1996, where like kids with a big bulky VHS recorder were inside a 7-Eleven. Also, that 7-Eleven was in Orlando, and also it was the 7-Eleven that me and my friends used to go to on our way to the movies, where we would like buy candy and stuff like that and sneak it all in. And I can't tell you how many times I've watched that video. It's so good.
Oh, you've watched it
I
multiple
could tell
times.
you, maybe twice. I don't think I've watched it more than twice. But I watched it once, and then it came up on my watch again, like years later, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll watch that again.
I wish YouTube did what Spotify does, like a end of the year Wrapped,
They do.
and it tells you like which accounts you watched the most, how many minutes you watched, what was your most watched video. That would be amazing.
They do all that. I don't know
They do?
why you're not getting it, but yes.
Do they really?
Yeah, absolutely. At least
I
they
don't get
do
that.
for premium. I don't know if maybe they don't do it for normal accounts, but
I've never gotten that.
interesting. They do it once a month if you want it that much.
I think it's fun. I think a yearly wrap is fun.
Once a month.
Yeah.
They'll do
I
it.
think
They do
you're-
it once a month, but
I think
I
what-
only get an email once a year.
I think, okay. All right. If you say so, it's not just like how many people watched your videos.
No, you get that as a creator too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, when we go on these tangents, that means we're really passionate about our list.
I love all my movies.
So-
Like I said, bangers, all of them. So
Well, my number 9 is a movie that I really like, and actually, I don't know if this has been discussed on the podcast that often, and it is 1992's Sneakers, and I'm sure both of you guys have seen.
Is that the hacking movie?
That is the hacking movie, yeah.
I don't remember it, but I know I've seen it.
Okay, so obviously, I hold this movie in much higher nostalgia regard than you guys do, because if someone else has Sneakers, be like, oh yeah, Sneakers. This is a early 90s Robert Redford movie. He plays a hacker who goes to jail in like the 70s, and he's now out, and he's running a security agency, and he's being blackmailed by someone to essentially do more hacking and to steal something. And he kind of falls into this bigger conspiracy as he gets farther and farther into this heist. So this is like a technology heist movie, but this is using still a lot of analog equipment. And I knew some like big names were in this movie when I saw this as a kid. Like Sidney Poitier. I didn't recognize that's Sidney Poitier, but it was a face I recognized. Dan Aykroyd's in this. I'm looking at the cast now. I didn't realize that David Stratham's in this movie. River Phoenix is in this. Ben Kingsley is in it. Mary McDonnell, who plays the president on Battlestar Galactica. If you guys have seen that show before, one of my favorite shows.
I love that.
She's
show.
in this movie. James Earl Jones. I really need to watch Sneakers again, because 10-year-old me who really liked this was not picking up that all these huge names were in this movie.
Mhm.
And a movie that I have not seen, but I'm intrigued to, that came out in September, is The Visit from 2015. This is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And I've said very recently on the podcast that I really like this new era of M. Night Shyamalan, and I will see anything he brings out, whether it's good or bad, just because they seem to be like, some hit, some don't, but there's at least, something to try there. I haven't seen The Visit, and I think a lot of people say The Visit is sort of the start of the Shyamalanaissance, if we're going to call it that. I think we should call it that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I haven't seen The Visit. I think, James, you probably have.
100%.
Okay. And this seems like more of a horror movie than some of his other. It's not more horror, less thriller?
Yeah.
Okay.
More horror, less twist.
Less twist.
Although there is
Okay.
a twist.
Okay.
because there can't not be a twist.
Right.
It'll change the way you look at your grandparents. That's for sure.
Well, they're all dead, so I can't look at them anymore. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem. Anytime I can remind you of that.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
How close I am to being the oldest of my family. Appreciate that. Yeah.
It's also a change in style in that it's a found footage horror movie.
Oh,
Shot
interesting. Okay.
documentary style. So it's a Shyamalan you've probably never seen before, basically.
I don't think I've seen him do found footage. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Even though it's a horror movie, still intrigued by 2015's The Visit.
Nice. Another intriguing movie. It's my 7th favorite movie released in September. Stronger from 2017. This is directed by David Gordon Green, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Tatiana Maslany. Jake Gyllenhaal is waving a sign for his ex-girlfriend that he wants to get together with at the end of the Boston Marathon, the year that it was bombed. And he loses 2 legs. Some would say both of them. And it's based on a real guy. And the movie doesn't really focus on the bombing as much as the fallout in this specific situation of the bombing, of like a fairly healthy young man losing 2 of his legs, a girl who he was on and off with, who he was there for, right? Trying to support in her run in the marathon, and all the kind of like rapid change and adjusting and relational issues that would come with an unexpected event like that. I think this is about as good as Jake Gyllenhaal gets in a purely dramatic role. And Tatiana Maslany is really good in this. I forget her TV show that I never watched. Orphan Black. Did anybody watch Orphan Black?
I have not seen Orphan Black.
No.
Supposedly is really good. It won all kinds of awards during award seasons, but I never watched it. But supposedly it's a good spy film. Anyway, she's great in this as the girlfriend who feels the need to support him in any way possible and really doesn't want to get back together with him, but also he lost his legs holding up a sign for her. You know what I mean? And so this is very hard to get around. And also like he's you don't get to see much of him pre-bombing, but post-bombing, he's not a nice person, I would say. He's very angry at the world for what was taken from him. I would hope I don't react in the exact same way, but maybe I would if somebody did that to me. So it's kind of hard to blame him. These are the complications of the movie. It's a great drama based on a real life person, on a real life event. And if you haven't seen it, I think it's worth a poke if you're into those kinds of things. People kind of overcoming personal tragedy. Stronger. My number 7.
Honestly, James, I think if that happened to you, you would just be grateful that you actually survived this year. Don't you?
I'm
Just-
grateful I survive every year, Zach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Five Rings, which is a movie that, for whatever reason, I really liked. I think it was the last Marvel movie I liked.
Really?
It's possible.
You haven't
What-
exactly been watching all of them either.
I've only missed one. Have I missed one? I don't think I've missed any.
You like the Spider-Man movie, right? With the throwback Spider-Man in it.
No Way Home.
Did that come out after?
I'm pretty sure that was after Shang-Chi.
Was that after? Okay. But yeah, I like that one then.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming?
No Way Home.
No Way
No Way Home. Yeah. Yeah, Shang-Chi's awesome. Super awesome. I've only seen it once though. I need to rewatch it.
I think it's awesome because it's unique. Like even though it's a Marvel movie, it has such its own unique style and look and cinematography to it.
yeah, and it's got some like wushu stuff, and
Yeah.
like the big bad at the end is a dragon. It's like sweet.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. But I've talked about how much I love that movie. Instead, I'm going to talk about a movie that definitely intrigues me. It's from 1971, released in September of 1971. It's called The Last Movie.
Oh.
And this is directed and starring Dennis Hopper. So I know James just watched a Dennis Hopper movie that he was not too enthusiastic about, Easy Rider. But this one looks so interesting to me. It's about a film production that goes to Peru to shoot a movie. And so it's about like the film being shot in Peru, and then they leave and one guy decides to stay, and he sees how destructive this production was to the local like community. So like it's about the aftermath of after American consumerism, like, you know, does its warpath through that community and then leaves, and then what happens. And so it just sounds so interesting to me, and it gets really good reviews. I was reading some reviews about it, and just looks really intriguing. I watched the trailer and I was like, this looks awesome, because the whole first half is just like this behind the scenes of making this Western kind of a thing. Which you don't, you know, which is great. And it's a very young Dennis Hopper. This is the early 70s Dennis Hopper. So it's called The Last Movie.
Cool. I did
It's
not
got
know Dennis
one
Hopper
of-
was a director.
Yeah. And it's got one of the worst movie posters I could imagine.
Okay. Now I have to see it.
Yeah, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. There's no way around
What
that.
is
Can you
this?
describe it for people who maybe can't pull up in
What
front
a
of them
weird
right now?
poster.
Yeah, it looks like you know that look where if you copy a piece of paper and then you copy the copy and copy the copy, and after 100 iterations it's like very poorly copied. It's like that of Dennis Hopper's face wearing a cowboy hat, and it just says The Last Movie under him. But so much of the cowboy hat has been lost. It almost looks like he's from like the 16th century.
100%.
You know, Henry VIII.
It
Yeah.
looks like a Napoleon like tri-point hats he's wearing.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know, Zach, that is a reference that some people will not get. Like,
A
you know, in
copy
middle
machine?
school when like when the teacher gives you the handout and they've obviously just been photocopying photocopies, they don't have the original anymore, and so like all the you know, there's just no quality left of the picture or the text.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually people are like, what are you talking about? A copy of a copy.
Yeah.
So
Also a good
But-
Nine Inch Nails song.
a copy of a copy.
Copy of a copy of a copy.
Which album? I don't know that one. Which album is that?
One of the much later ones, like within the last 7 years or so.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I have
I'm
not
forgetting
listened.
the name of the album.
I don't think I've checked into Nine Inch Nails since like Parabolas. What was the one that came after With Teeth?
I don't know, but Parabola is like a Tool album.
Yeah. That's not what it's called.
Sure.
It's the one that he
I
released.
think it's called Witch something, and there are like 3 EPs. That's where copy of a copy of a copy comes
Okay.
from.
Whatever one Trent Reznor released, like free online, or he said, "Pay what you want."
Right. That's not The Hurt, but something like that.
It's like
The Slip.
The Slip. That's it.
Yeah,
Yes.
The Slip.
Yeah. That's the last new Nine Inch Nails I've listened to, and that's probably 15, 17 years old at this point. So
When I was a kid, I found out about Kinko's, and I took a comic book to Kinko's and got like $5 worth of copies of the comic book in black and white copies, and then went to school and sold it.
smart.
Oh wow.
Wow. Okay.
I had like three copies of this Spectacular Spider-Man comic book, and I think I got like a quarter or 50 cents for them.
And
So
how much
you
did the
lost
copy
money?
cost? Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it
Color
was pretty
or-
cheap. It was like a penny or two. It was not much.
Oh, well, you said you got $5 worth,
Yeah, I got.
and then you
There's like 40 pages in it.
right. But then
I
you sold
copied
it for
other
a quarter.
things too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm
I don't
saying
remember
like,
what I
like
got
you
for it.
spent $5 and you made 75 cents. I'm
Yeah.
not an economist, but that seems like a loss in my mind.
Sure, it wasn't really about selling it. It was about doing it.
Oh yeah,
Does
very
that make
entrepreneurial.
sense?
Yeah.
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 I mean, you could have put that $5 into a savings account and be way richer right now, but you know, you had to try.
Sure. I mean, in retrospect, that's kind of not a good thing to do. But at the time, I just wanted to share it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted people I knew to have a copy of it.
Right. Black, white, or color? That's the last question.
Black and white.
Okay.
It was not a good product.
As Spider-Man is meant to be seen.
Right. Color
right.
copies were expensive. I don't remember how much, but expensive.
They were not cheap. No.
My 7th favorite movie released in September.
I believe it is my turn.
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
To give my number 8. Yeah, my number 8 favorite movie is a movie that I think is somewhat problematic now. This is 1995's The Usual Suspects. This is a 90s classic, but it's directed by Bryan Singer. It stars Kevin Spacey, two names who are not popular in Hollywood anymore and will never be. So I don't want to talk too much about The Usual Suspects because this is definitely a movie that has soured in my mind a little bit. Not because
Can
of the
I give
movie
you
itself,
another reason
but just the people.
to not talk about it?
Yes, please.
It's not released in September.
Well, the great.
It was somewhere.
When did it come out then?
It was released August 16th, 1995 in the United States.
Yeah, but if you take leap year into effect.
Yep, leap year would definitely affect that.
Definitely.
If it was released somewhere in September, it counts.
Well, I'm sure all movies were probably released somewhere in September.
Yeah, it was
No,
released
not
in
all
Spain.
movies were released somewhere in September.
I mean,
most movies.
If you
Most
look at
movies were released in every month of the year. No, not true.
yes.
Even
no.
globally.
Look at the
instance-
international calendar, and like you have movies that are being released for at least 2 years after their initial release date.
100%.
Yeah.
Like Israel, December, Canada, February, Argentina, August,
You skipped
Finland,
January.
May,
You skipped January. Is January on there? Because if it's not, you're wrong.
Austria, January. They're not in any order because they're like spanning multiple years. The United Arab Emirates, June of 2007.
We're going by continents here.
The UAE finally got The Usual Suspects 12 years later.
Yeah.
They're like, hey guys, you will not believe this cast. They're going places.
Well, Zach's striking it from your list, but I count it.
Well, that's fine.
Because it came out in Spain in September.
Because it came out in September.
Right, and that's our list, right? Our top 10 favorite American movies that came out in Spain in September.
You got it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great. Perfect. Well, then I am back on track. But a movie that I do want to see, which seems a lot less problematic, is 2022's See How They Run. This is a whodunit murder mystery starring Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan.
See
Sam
who
Rockwell.
they run?
See How They Run.
See how they run.
Yep. Sam Rockwell plays an inspector who is teamed up with a rookie constable played by Saoirse Ronan, and they are investigating a murder that is pivotal to a movie. So this seems kind of like two things you got going on. You got both a murder mystery happening and sort of taking place during the 1950s London movie scene. Who can forget that?
Not me.
Definitely not me.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen this, but it's not marked in Letterboxd, so I don't know. Has a 3.2 and 151 fans.
Yeah.
That means it's in somebody's top 4, right?
Yes, a fan means top 4. Correct.
That's not bad. 151 for a movie that most people have never heard of. That came out 2 years ago.
Right. It was not some huge hit. I mean, it was a September release somewhere, so
right.
They knew they was not going to do well.
Exactly. My 7th favorite movie released in September somewhere in the world is Goodfellas. Directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, amongst others. I mean, what to say about Goodfellas? Everybody at least knows of this movie and has chosen not to watch it at this point because it's pretty famous and it's a good one.
For sure. Well, my number 8 is The Edge. Sorry, my number 7 is The Edge. 1997. It's a survival thriller by David Mamet, written by David Mamet, and it stars Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. And they're both trying to survive, but they also hate each other. And so it's like they'd be fine, or Alec Baldwin would be fine if Anthony Hopkins died, but he also needs him to survive. And it's just such a great movie. And I love Anthony Hopkins' character. And yeah, I really like that movie. But I've talked about it a lot. Instead, the movie that I haven't seen that I'm definitely interested in that has a September release is Tora, Tora, Tora from 1970. This is a war film about the attack on Pearl Harbor.
You've never seen Tora, Tora, Tora.
I've never seen Tora, Tora, Tora.
After
Tora.
all your list stuff, you've never seen Tora, Tora, Tora.
Yeah, it's not on those lists as far as like,
Really?
yeah.
It's on like the minor war lists. Like if you do like top 500 war movies, you'll see Tora, Tora, Tora. But like all the top 50, top 100, not on there.
Yeah. But it's always been a movie I've wanted to watch. In fact, I own it on a really nice edition of Blu-ray that I found at a garage sale once. And so that opportunity is definitely there. And by all accounts, I've heard it's a great movie. And so I would love to check it out. Seeing that it's a September movie, I mean, absolutely pushes it over the edge for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will love to check out Tora, 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 Tora. Fun fact: does anyone know what Tora means?
Oh, yes, it's what the Japanese pilot shouted. It
Right.
Does not mean attack though. That'd be too obvious.
It's like
No.
it's like a suicide mission chant. I don't know what the word
Yeah,
means.
it means tiger.
but, right.
Tiger.
Yeah.
But it's when they were. It's what they would yell when they were like dive bombing their planes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the
yeah.
kamikaze pilots.
Yeah,
James, have you seen Tora, Tora, Tora?
I have. It's a good one.
Awesome.
It's one of those like 70s movies where you're like, practical effects are awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And a rare 3 exclamation point title.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And commas also, or is it exclamation
commas.
after every Tora?
No comments.
Okay, it's not Tora, comma, Tora, comma, Tora, then 3 exclamation points. That'd be
No.
crazy. Okay.
Don't get crazy, Kyle. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Well, my number 7 movie is kind of crazy. This is Looper from 2012, directed by Rian Johnson. I actually rewatched this last night because I bought it on Blu-ray a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, well, this seems like a good reason to watch this movie. I only see it the one time. And I still think this movie's pretty good. It's I guess you can call it a time travel movie. It takes place in the near future, where, what's his name? JGL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Joseph.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He plays essentially a hitman who kills people who are sent back from the future into the past, his present. Because that's how time travel is being used. And then his own future self, played by Bruce Willis, comes back to murder a boy who becomes a crime lord. And it's kind of like a would you go back in time and murder Hitler sort of situation. And there's definitely a lot of morality to the movie, as well as some cool sci-fi moments. Though I will admit, I was thinking about this movie and I was like, okay, in the future, time travel exists. It's been outlawed. And the criminals, they use it to this whole Looper program where like we'll send this person 30 years in the past. They'll get killed. That way there's no body. There's, the crime never happened. I'm like, well, you have time travel and you can send the body anywhere in the world because it's not like they have to be in the same spot. Why don't you like send into the ocean during the dinosaur period? Like, why? I kind of wish the movie had given a reason why it had to be 30 years. Because if you have time travel and you can send anything anywhere, why do you have to send it to like the near past and have this whole elaborate program to like pay people to shoot? And so I'll admit the setup when you think about it seems overly complicated, but if you don't think too much about it, the rest of the movie is really, really good.
I think the thing that annoyed me the most about that movie was the hand waving away of the stuff that I find interesting.
Yes.
There's that
Yeah.
whole diner scene where Bruce Willis is like, it doesn't matter how time travel works. And like, I was like, well, actually, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you think at all deeply about this movie, it, like you said, it really doesn't make any sense.
Right. So I think they could have been a little smarter to maybe give us a reason why it has to be this way. But
Yes.
Yeah.
But famously came out in Croatia in September. So I think it definitely deserves to be on this list.
yeah, that for sure. That's why I included it. Shout out to Croatia, all our listener over there. The movie that I want to see, which maybe came out in 2006, because who knows anymore, or sorry, it came out in September, is 2006 Crank. This is a Jason Statham movie.
You've never
And
seen Crank?
I've never seen Crank, and I'm a sucker for mediocre Jason Statham action movies, and this might just fill that slot perfectly. He plays a character named Chev Chelios, which is pretty great, and he has an hour to live and keeps pumping adrenaline into his body as he's trying to find the antidote to this poison. And it just seems like a high octane action movie that I don't know why I haven't seen. And I don't know why Megan hasn't seen it, but I think it needs to be on the insane Jason Statham movie lists that we like to watch.
So Kyle, I gave this a 4 out of 5.
Really?
I've seen it multiple times. I think it's so much fun.
Okay.
I think you and Megan will have a great time watching it.
I just saw that it's on Max, and that it is 87 minutes. So this is like a perfect movie for her and I to watch some evening.
Yeah. And it's pretty high octane, I would say.
Perfect.
When you're done with Crank, you absolutely have to watch Crank 2 High Voltage, which is even better in my opinion.
I love it.
And like, if your favorite Jason Statham movies are crazy movies, then how have you not seen Crank? It's literally his craziest movie by far, in my opinion.
I think it's because Megan and I kind of discovered Statham crazy action movies in the last decade. So, or no,
Okay.
yeah. So we're a little, we weren't watching the early ones together.
Do you know the premise of Crank?
I just said it. Yeah.
I didn't hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
He does know.
Use your time machine. Go back in time a minute.
Sure. I'm
you
shocked
can hear
that
me.
Crank 3 never happened, because Crank 2 is like it's like a cult film at this point.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My 6th favorite September release movie is Dog Day Afternoon from 1975, which is on my top 100. Great movie. Sidney Lumet. If you haven't seen it, it's about a bank heist with these two kind of like anti-war protesters who are half robbing the bank, half angry at society, I would say. And they're not really interested in hurting anybody or anything like that, but things get out of hand. And it's super well acted by Al Pacino and John Cazale. And it's a classic for a reason. It's a good one. My number 6.
That is a good one. My number 6 is Time After Time, which is where Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells and goes forward in time, and Jack the Ripper sneaks into his time machine, and now Jack the Ripper is loose in San Francisco or Seattle, maybe actually.
Mhm.
No, San Francisco, and Mary Steenburgen's in it. And I just really like that movie, and my dad is in it as well as an extra.
Oh, really?
Which is fun. Yeah.
Wait,
but
so in this movie, H.G. Wells, who wrote
Yes.
the book, the author,
Yes, of Time Machine,
actually invents a time machine.
a real time machine.
Okay, all right. I just want to clarify that
Yes.
the author in this case invents it. Interesting.
Yes, and he's a contemporary of Jack the Ripper. And Jack the Ripper sneaks into his time machine and goes to 70s San Francisco.
Is
and starts
H.G.
killing
Wells
people.
also in 70s San Francisco, or just Jack the
Yes.
Ripper?
Yeah.
They're
So then he
together.
goes and try to stop him. Yeah.
It's a real
Okay.
Bill and Ted situation that movie's got
Yeah,
going on.
sounds
It's,
like a bogus journey.
If anyone hasn't seen Time After Time, I think it's fantastic. I think it's definitely a hidden gem of the 70s, of like a thriller, time travel kind of fun movie. It's good.
Is this what the Cyndi Lauper song's about?
No.
Yes. Yeah. The Cyndi Lauper song was based off of this film, and they actually play it several times during the movie.
Even
Right.
Though, even though she wasn't born.
well, she was
Yes.
born in the 70s.
Okay, maybe she was born,
Okay,
but she
she was
wasn't
a-
a pop singer.
No.
Yeah. But certainly the inspiration for her entire career.
Yeah. Okay.
But a movie that I haven't seen that I am now curious about is called The Beast of War from 1988, directed by Kevin Reynolds. And this is a tank movie set in Afghanistan. It's a Soviet tank fighting the Mujahideen in Afghanistan during the Soviet war in Afghanistan. And the reviews for this call it a criminally underappreciated gem. And another person calls it Das Boot in a tank. And if you've seen Das Boot, that movie's awesome. Another September release, actually.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. And I am totally up for a great Afghanistan Mujahideen Soviet tank movie. a la Das Boot. So Beast of War sounds really cool to me.
Can you name many war tank movies besides Fury?
I mean, Fury's the big one
Yeah.
that I think of. There's a lot of tanks in Jarhead.
True.
I wouldn't call it a tank movie though.
Yeah, like I can't think of many tank forward movies.
There's a documentary about a guy that rampaged a town in a tank.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It was in Colorado. And it wasn't a tank. It was like a construction vehicle that he modified essentially into a tank.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Nice.
surprisingly, no one died except for him.
Have you ever seen Tank Girl
No, I remember seeing commercials for it though.
from the mid 90s?
Is that Lori Petty, who I always thought was Madonna?
It is Lori Petty.
Okay.
Tank Girl. Check out this cast. Lori Petty, Ice-T, Naomi Watts, and Malcolm McDowell. 4 people you would never put in the same sentence.
Bring it back
No,
around to
it's-
Malcolm McDowell.
Great point.
I haven't seen Tank Girl. I need to put it on my list.
I could see you thinking that's Madonna.
Right. Especially what year did that come out?
1995.
Yeah, I didn't know who Lori Petty was in 95. So like,
Sure.
yeah, it could be Madonna. Madonna had a budding acting career in the mid 90s.
I mean, you could probably name every movie she was in. She wasn't in that many that weren't like big high profile movies.
I can name Dick Tracy,
Mm-hmm.
Evita,
Mm-hmm.
Body of Evidence.
Right. I'm telling you, you're going to name all of them.
I know I'm missing.
There really aren't that many.
I know I'm missing a big one. Those okay. Off top, without getting those are the 3 that came to me off top.
You missed Swept Away,
Never heard of Swept Away.
and maybe there's one more. She doesn't have too many.
Okay. Yeah, it was a quick rise, quick fall. All right, my number 6 is actually another Emily Blunt movie. I didn't mention that Emily Blunt's in Looper, playing like a woman in Kansas. This is another Emily Blunt playing in an American movie, and this is 2015's Sicario. Zach, did this come out in September?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sicario has been discussed often on this podcast. I watched it, a couple months ago. I think this movie keeps rising in my esteem. Next time we do our top 700, Sicario definitely has to be above Looper for sure. So
Did you
Sicario's
see Sicario 2 yet?
no, but I want to see Sicario 2. It is on my watch list. It's not anywhere. I have to either like get it from the library
Mhm.
or get it from another source. It's just not out there in the wild. So
It's
it's not that it's not for
very
lack of
hard
effort.
movie to find. I agree.
Okay. Anyway, but another movie that I want to see, and this is a series that gets discussed often on this podcast, and I kind of wrote this series off, but you guys keep bringing it up, and that's The Equalizer. 2014, Denzel Washington, Antoine
Yeah.
Fuqua. I mean, I feel like I gotta watch this series, at least the first and the third.
Yeah, definitely the first and the third.
Okay.
So good.
All
You
three.
could skip the
You
second.
need to see all 3.
I'm really bothered by this poster, though. If you look at the poster, you have Denzel Washington. It's he's being sort of shot like from the bottom, and he's holding a gun. And obviously, he's holding a certain way to like make it sure the gun's in the frame. It just looks so unnatural. Like no one actually holds their
Like-
hand that way. Yeah, it's just the poster bothers me because the gun seems forced. Like we have to let you guys know this is Denzel Washington, and it's an action movie.
Would it help to know that is not, he's not like static? That is, they snapped a shot as he's going through a motion.
As he's like
he's
raising.
bringing the gun. No, he's bringing the gun down.
Okay, maybe
See,
it's
he's
because
just
like everything's being
equalized
shot
somewhere.
from underneath. He's equalizing.
Yeah.
Okay, is he balancing equations?
Always.
Okay, all right. So yeah,
Always.
I just hit it. Bam, watch list. The Equalizer. It's now on there.
Nice. My 4th favorite movie released in September is Looper, which Kyle already mentioned. Generally agree with his take on the movie. I rewatched it today, so it's pretty fresh.
Yeah, watched it yesterday.
And yeah, I think it's a good movie that has time travel in it. Not sure it's a good time travel movie because the movie's not really about the time travel. It's about the things that result from the time travel. So I understand if that's not the kind of movie you're into. You'd much rather know the machinations of the time travel, then this probably isn't the movie for you. But if you accept it as like a sci-fi movie that's not going to spoon feed you every single detail of how it works, then you might enjoy the movie. The makeup choice is pretty unfortunate, I would say.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it bothered me. I don't remember it bothering me, but it really bothered me. Like JGL's lips just looked weird.
The lips and the nose, specifically in the cafe scene.
Yes, the cafe scene's the worst. Yeah,
It's too well lit for that kind of makeup job, I would say. Everything before that, kind of the noirish city crime stuff, didn't bother me at all until they're in the cafe and it's fully lit. Then you're like, whoa, all right. He doesn't even look like Bruce Willis either. He looks like a form from Madame Tussauds wax museum or something.
he looks like Odo from DS9.
Sure.
featureless,
Minus the
yeah.
ridges, I guess. Doesn't he? He's the one with the ridges on his nose.
No,
right?
no. That's Odo. Odo is the shapeshifter who like he can't fully look like a human, so that's why he's kind of like soft features.
Interesting. Okay. I never watched Deep Space Nine, so
Oh, that's the best one.
I know. I watched
Voyager.
No, Voyager. Oh my Zach. I've watched all of Voyager, and Voyager has its high peaks, but it is no DS9.
I loved Voyager
Yeah,
too.
they go places.
I watched all of Voyager. Deep Space Nine, like hardcore Trekkies claim Deep Space Nine is the best of all of them. I watched the first 4 episodes and was like, okay, I'll have to pick this up some other time. That was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so I'll give you Voyager starts out the gate because like right away they're lost in the Delta Quadrant,
Mhm.
and like it really is like adventure of the week,
Mhm.
right? Where DS9 they're on the space station, so like the action has to come to them, and like I'll admit it takes them a couple seasons to get their sea legs,
Mhm.
and that it's hard to sell that to people. Be like, hey, hold out for 3 seasons because that's a really hard sell on like 20 episode runs for each season. But I do say like when they kind of figure out what the overall like plot is to the series, DS9 is one of I think one of the earlier serial shows where it's not just like adventure of the week. Like we actually are building season long plots and as well as we're building series long plots.
Mhm. At one point, somebody linked me to a forum post that went through all the seasons of DS9 and highlighted only the episodes you have to watch to get the high points of the arc, basically.
Right.
And then, like, as you get towards the end of the season, they have you watching like whole episodes. So it'll be like the first or second episode of a season, and then a couple episodes here and there throughout the season, and then like the last 3 or 4 episodes. And then in between, they had little paragraphs that described everything you missed that mattered
Oh yeah,
on
because
the
like,
episodes that you skipped. And it was only like 1 or 2, maybe 3 lines that were
Right.
that was relevant, basically.
right, because they for sure. I mean, they had 22 episodes a season, so they still had to do we need to fill some time. Let's have the Ferengis do something funny in the bar for which are fun episodes, but like they don't matter to the greater story whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was tempted to do that run of it, but never did that either. Is Kyle
Let's
up
see.
next?
No, it's up to Zach next
Back
with
to
his
Zach.
number 5
Okay.
picks.
My number 5, Citizen Kane. A movie that I originally didn't appreciate very much, but we rewatched it for the show, and I liked it a whole lot better the second time, and I definitely appreciate it now. But I mean, it's Citizen Kane. What do I need to say? So instead, I want to talk about Dogfight. Have you guys ever heard about Dogfight?
No.
This is a River Phoenix movie from 1991. And I'll read you the plot description. It's the fall of 1963, and Eddie Birdlace is an 18-year-old Marine Corps volunteer who's about to ship out with 3 of his buddies for a tour of duty in Vietnam. Planning a massive blowout for their last night in San Francisco, Eddie, his buddies, and a number of other Marines set up a contest they call a dogfight. And it doesn't say what a dogfight is, in the description, so I'm very curious what that
Mhm.
is. Brendan Fraser's in this movie.
Wow.
And all of the reviews make me want to see it more. So one says it's one of the few movies I've ever seen where the two leads seemed like real people. And another person says, are there films that are more tenderhearted than this one? and basically all the reviews are just saying how good River Phoenix is in this movie. And it looks right up my alley and I want to check it out. So it's called Dogfight.
Yeah, River Phoenix is an actor who, like, I've seen him in things, but he's never the lead. So
Right.
I've never seen him as like leading a movie and, the full chops on display.
You ever seen My Own Private Idaho?
No, that's with Keanu, right?
Yep.
Yep. Is that Jim Jarmusch?
And River Phoenix.
And
No,
yeah, I kind
That's
of
Gus Van Sant.
It's Gus Van Sant. Okay, the other guy.
The other guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Have-
go ahead, Zach.
so I got to check out Dogfight.
I'm
Yeah,
into
sounds
it.
in. Yeah, report back. Let us know if it's a worthy River Phoenix performance.
It was already on my
Oh.
watch list.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
I just haven't seen it
Very
yet.
cool. Yeah, I know you're a big September completionist.
I am trying to see all of them
Every movie that's ever released in September.
in any country.
Somewhere in the world.
In any
Yeah.
country, yes. Well, Citizen Kane will not make my list, not because it's not a good movie, but because, and this is not a fault of James, the list that James sent us started in 1968 and went beyond and included some movies in September. So I didn't do my own research. I just went off the one list. So again, the onus is on me to exclude these movies. I am not blaming James for his incomplete and inaccurate list.
You're just calling attention to
I went
it,
by
but you're not blaming.
Wikipedia, so you can blame Wikipedia all you want.
Yeah, and obviously we know how reliable Wikipedia is with their sourcing. So thanks, internet. But a movie that is on my list that did come out post 1968 is the previously mentioned Dog Day Afternoon. We've already talked about this. This is Al Pacino, Jim Caviezel. I don't have it in front of me.
Caviezel.
Jim
Cazale.
Cazale. Jim
Jim
Cazale.
Cazale.
Yep. Yep. And this is the bank heist movie based on a true story with Al Pacino yelling Attica at some point in it. So Sidney Lumet's the director. It is a classic of the 70s. Another classic, but of the 80s that I have not seen is Fatal Attraction, directed by Adrian Lyne.
I'm surprised you haven't seen that.
Me too. Though, I mean, I don't know why I would have seen this because I was 4 when it came out. So like, and it's, it's not like a movie that I was going to rent as in the 90s. This is kind of a forbidden movie for my age group because it is a sex thriller, I guess is the best way to put it, amongst other things. There's stalker themes to it. But this movie stars Michael Douglas and Glenn Close. And in this, Michael Douglas has an affair with Glenn Close, and then she becomes obsessive and things escalate. And did either of you guys, and James, you're probably going to say no, but did either of you guys listen to the last 2 seasons of You Best Remember This with Karina Longworth, where she talked about erotic thrillers from the 80s and 90s?
Heck no.
Okay. Well, it was a really interesting season, and this movie came up obviously often. So I kind of want to check it out even more after listening to that podcast series.
I just need somebody to like annotate, like just give me the transcript of what was in the podcast. I'd probably enjoy reading it more than listening to it.
I mean, you could just like chat GPT it, I'm sure.
Sure. I
But-
could.
That's up to you.
Never seen Fatal Attraction.
Zach, have you seen Fatal Attraction?
I have not.
Okay, so none of us have. You guys seem surprised I had not seen it, but neither of you had seen it either.
It seemed like kind of movie you would see.
What does that mean?
It just seems like kind of movie you always see every stalker movie with Glenn Close.
Including
Well, I thought all of them.
101
Apparently,
Dalmatians. I can't think of any other stalker movies with Glenn Close.
The other movie that I always kind of put in the same era and category, and maybe I shouldn't have, but was, do you remember Indecent Proposal?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
that's
seen
with
that.
that's Robert Redford and Demi Moore, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who's the husband, the third guy?
Woody Harrelson.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. I always think of those in like the same category.
I mean, I think they are kind of all in the same ideas. Like they're all sort of, sexy thrillers with, steamy situations.
Fatal
amongst other
Attraction was definitely like the lesser compared to Indecent Proposal.
things. Is Indecent Proposal like the highbrow erotic thriller?
Maybe not highbrow, but
Okay.
more popular.
Sure.
I haven't seen Fatal Attraction, so I couldn't compare them, but I remember one being elevated over the other.
It's one of Time Out's 1,000 films to change your life.
It changed mine.
Is Tor also on that list?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Or maybe not. Maybe they don't need to be on the same list.
Yeah.
My number 4 is another movie from 2012. Both Looper and this movie. Evidently, 2012 was a good September for movies. It's The Master from P.T. Anderson. Another movie that I rewatched today.
Oh.
It's a
Nice.
psychological drama starring Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Amy Adams. Laura Dern's in there as well. And man, this movie, rewatching it made me really miss Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like it's been a while. When did he pass away? When he passed away, we were doing the podcast. So within the last 10 years, he passed away. And it's not often where I'm like, man, it's been forever since I've seen a Philip Seymour Hoffman movie. But every now and then you watch an old one that he was in and you're just reminded at just how good that guy was. And just how much nobody has been able to fill that hole as an actor. I know some people like to think that what's his name from Breaking Bad is doing a decent job.
Bryan Cranston?
No, not him. Jesse Plemons.
Oh, Jesse Plemons. Okay.
But Jesse Plemons just kind of is Jesse Plemons to me. He's not a Philip Seymour Hoffman substitute just because he's blonde and has a little pudge. And so, he's just really good as kind of the stand-in for the leader of Scientology. They never say it's Scientology, but there's way too many similarities in this. And also, having seen Joker once and The Master once, and then rewatching this movie, I'm like, Joaquin Phoenix is basically doing Joker in this movie. Like a lot of the physicality of this movie just reminds me of his performance in Joker. And he's really good in this. It's a complicated movie, I would say, a movie filled with complicated characters. There's nobody in the movie that feels well-intentioned, I would say. Like everybody's got an agenda. And the manipulations that are going on are varied as far as how deviously extreme they are. But everybody's just kind of manipulating each other. With the exception of maybe Joaquin Phoenix's character, who's just a guy who needs some serious therapy. And he thinks he's getting it from being involved in this cult, essentially. And it's just really, really well acted and really well written. It's a movie you have to be patient with, but one that if you give it a chance to really cook, it pays off in the end in some great performances and great writing and great direction. My number 4, The Master.
Cool. That's a great movie.
Yeah. You mentioned Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminded me that when I saw Alien Romulus, I finally saw the Joker Folie à Deux trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot think of another movie that I'm less enthused to see.
Really?
That's coming out this year. Yeah.
You didn't like Joker?
I did not like Joker. No.
I liked Joker when it came out, and I think I'm just going to leave it that way.
Okay, good for you.
I think I'm never going to watch Joker again because I'm pretty sure I won't like it anymore the second time as I did the first. So
Right.
we'll just leave it alone. But I'm into a second one.
I'm sure we'll do it on the podcast because it's going to be a huge movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, clicks is important. But, man, I'm not looking forward to Joker Part 2, whatever they want to call it, at all.
I'm interested if they can make an elevated comic book movie a second time, especially since they all claimed they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You guys remember that when they were doing press for the first one? They're like, no, it's one and done. It's not in any universe. This is it. And then it
Yeah.
was like an insane hit. And they're like, well,
Right.
maybe we should do another one and put Lady Gaga in it.
They got to first find like some Martin Scorsese movies to rip off.
I'm more interested in seeing a superhero musical, which is what I understand this one is. Like literally, they're going to break out in song and dance over the course of the movie and tell parts of the story.
That sounds exhausting in the context of this movie.
I don't know. We'll
Okay.
see.
All right. Well, my number 4 is Zoolander. And I actually remember this movie coming out. And I remember when I first watched it. This is probably the only time this has ever happened with a movie for me, is me and a friend watched this.
Mhm.
And we didn't laugh once. We were like, what is this? We finished the movie and we looked at each other and said, I have no idea what we just watched. Let's watch it again. And so we didn't like it the first time, but we immediately turned it on again and just rewatched it and laughed the entire time.
Sure.
And probably that's never happened to me before in a movie, but I've probably seen this movie. I mean, to be honest, maybe 25 times. Like I have spent a lot of my life quoting this movie. Maybe unfortunately, I guess, but I really like Zoolander. But I've talked about it a lot. So instead, I'm going to talk about a movie I haven't seen, which I think I would love. And because I like these movies. It's called 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay, nice. This is a Robert Redford, Faye Dunaway movie where he plays a CIA agent. The poster says his CIA code name is Condor, and in the next 72 hours, almost everyone he trusts will try to kill him. So it's basically like a conspiracy movie where he has to like vindicate himself before he gets killed by the CIA. And it's directed by Sidney Pollack and, starring Robert Redford. And it's just, I like these 70s kind of, conspiracy, paranoid thrillers. And so I definitely want to check out 3 Days of the Condor. What do you guys think of it?
Yeah. I liked it. It's definitely a good 70s like paranoid thriller. I'm going to tell you right now, the Rob Redford Faye Dunaway relationship feels forced. It definitely feels like some Stockholm syndrome thing going on, but that's just because we need a love interest in the movie.
Gotcha.
But the paranoid thriller stuff is good.
Very cool.
It's directed by the same guy who directed They Shoot Horses, don't they?
Yeah. Which have you seen, by the way, James?
No.
That movie is absolutely worth seeing.
It's on my watch list. I think you've told me this
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
You have not seen a movie like this, except maybe Mother.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Zach, have you seen The Parallax View?
No.
That's another.
That's really good.
I think I like Parallax View better than 3 Days of Condor.
Okay.
Aren't they
I know
like
it's not a September release, but
Aren't they like spiritual? It's like part of a spiritual trilogy from the same director or something.
Is
like
it Sidney
that?
Pollack also did? I mean, they're both like 70s paranoid thrillers. In this case, it's Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty is in Parallax View.
Mhm.
Are they both Sidney Pollack or are they different directors?
Different directors, but I
Okay.
think maybe the writer. is
They're
the
very
common-
similar movies in tone and like just capturing the era. Yeah.
Nope, no
Perfect.
relation. But the guy who wrote Parallax View wrote Alien 3 of all movies,
I love Alien
Zach's
3.
favorite
That's
Alien movie.
and
Yeah.
also The Money Pit, one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Oh, wow.
one of my least favorite movies of all time.
Well, my number 4 is a not quite a top 100 movie for me, but it's close. And this is 2000 and what year is this? 4 maybe? Yeah, 2003's Finding Nemo, which has become a Pixar classic. It's interesting that they put this in September. Zach, fact check me. Is this actually September?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it seemed like Disney was unsure on this movie if they dumped it at the end of summer, but obviously Finding Nemo has become a classic of the
I take it
Pixar.
back. Released May 30th, 2003.
Okay. So Disney very smartly released this at the beginning of the summer blockbuster season,
Yeah.
enshrining it as in the classic it has become. And some other country eventually got it in September and it was able to enjoy it. So I'm really happy for them on that. That they could enjoy this classic that Disney fully bet on back in May of that same year.
But it will proudly sit atop your number 4 on this list.
Probably number 4, yes, on James' very flawed but not his fault list. A movie that I have not seen, though, that maybe came out in September, who knows anymore, is 1988's Dead Ringers. This is directed by David Cronenberg. This stars Jeremy Irons. In this case, he plays twins. And it's essentially twins that share women, but the women are unaware that they're being shared by twins. And Zach, you're correct. I like psychosexual thrillers, and this is up my alley. You're right.
That's funny.
Yep.
What year did that come out?
88. Dead Ringers came out.
It looks so contemporary. Not Jeremy Irons, but what's her name? Looks exactly like I think of her looking.
Heidi Van Pileski or
Oh,
Genevieve
no.
Bujold.
Okay, you know what?
What?
I just Google image searched the movie.
The remake.
Yeah. And so what it did is it showed images from the Jeremy Irons movie,
Yeah.
just alongside images from the remake with Rachel Weisz.
Oh, yeah. No.
From last year. And I was like, she looks exactly the same.
Rachel Weisz.
No, Rachel Weisz is
Dead Ringers
definitely
remake?
not in this one.
TV show from last year.
Oh,
Oh, a
TV
Dead Ringers
show.
TV show. Interesting.
She's the twin.
I do remember hearing about that.
It's a gender swap.
Is it a mini series or like an ongoing TV show?
There are 6 episodes.
So probably mini series. I would watch that.
Yeah.
What's the Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't know the Rotten Tomatoes. I do know the IMDb score.
I don't trust that.
You're not interested in that?
Nope.
Okay, well, then go in blind.
Dead Ringers limited series, 85% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Not too shabby.
All right.
I'm watching it. Excuse me. My number 3 is actually Kyle's, right? Is this your turn, Kyle? Or is it my turn?
No, it's your turn now.
It's my turn. Okay. You guys doing 2 movies is really throwing me off because there's like
I know
8
it's
discussions
a lot
before
for
it rolls around to my side.
It's a lot for old man James to handle tonight.
Speaking of Mother, my number 3 is Mother! Exclamation point from 2017.
No, that's funny.
Hilarious. Just like the movie. It's great comedy. No, not a comedy at all. If you've never seen Mother, lowercase m, exclamation point on the end. It's a psychological horror film directed by Darren Aronofsky, who directed Pi and Requiem for a Dream and a bunch of other movies. And this one is more of an allegorical film, I would say, but presented as real life. And it's a this is the kind of thrill ride movie I enjoy. One that's a slow climb up the hill, and then at some point it goes over the top, and it's all fast from there till the very end. And it's a tough movie, I would say. Not necessarily a tough one to understand. More just some of the visuals in it are hard to watch. And so if you don't like challenging movies, you should probably skip this one. But if you don't mind movies that will challenge you, both in the writing, the presentation, and the visuals, then you should definitely check out Mother. I think it's very well acted, perfectly assembled movie, which is a weird thing to say about a movie. But this one, if it wasn't assembled perfectly, would not work at all. and yet it does. And so for those reasons, it's my number 3.
Nice. It's a good movie. My number 3 is Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe, and stars Billy Crudup and Kate Hudson. And this movie is just So great. It's just really easy to watch. It's just perfectly constructed. I mean, the assembly, James, the assembly is so good. I like this movie a lot. But I've talked about it before. Instead, I'm going to talk about the third most movie that intrigued me that came out in September that I had not seen. And it's called King of New York. Have either of you seen this?
Yes.
I have not. Is this Sidney Lumet also?
This is Abel Ferrara.
Okay.
This is a Christopher Walken movie. It also has David Caruso and Lawrence Fishburne and Wesley Snipes. And this is the plot description on Letterboxd. Not everyone who runs a city is elected. A former drug lord returns from prison determined to wipe out all his competition and distribute the profits of his operation to New York's poor and lower classes in this stylish and ultra-violent modern twist on Robin Hood. And a super atmospheric Christopher Walken movie from the early 90s that's tangentially related to Robin Hood sounds very intriguing to me. So, James, would I enjoy this movie?
I could have sworn I've seen this. I feel like I've seen it just by that description. Not marked watched on Letterboxd, and I don't remember any of it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with I haven't seen it, but maybe I have.
Okay.
But
it sounds awesome, right?
Couldn't tell you if it's good, but it does have a 3.8 on Letterboxd, which is not too shabby. Anything up close to a 4 is like, that's a pretty good consensus, I would say.
Yeah. One of the reviews says, never sacrifices thrills or atmosphere or style, doesn't sell short a single member of its incredibly stacked cast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did Christopher Walken write that?
Yeah, he did. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Famously reviews his own movies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds. I do like. What year was that?
1990.
Okay, so that's not a young Walken, but not an old Walken either. That's like a middle-aged Walken right there.
Yeah, it's a middle Walken.
A middle Walken. I'm intrigued by all eras of the Walken acting career because, like, you see young Walken, and you're like, I just cannot imagine he was a young person. You see him in like The Deer Hunter. He's a young guy in that.
Yeah.
Wow, listen to this one. Siberia from the same director. Willem Dafoe is a dead man who lives in the frozen tundra. One night he begins a journey where he must confront his dreams, memories, and visions, crossing the darkness into the light.
Is he like a literal dead man, or is he like, because he lives there, like, oh, you're a dead man for living out there?
I don't know.
A dead man who lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 3 is my number 64 favorite movie of all time. So we're in top 100 territory now. This is Big Night. I've talked about this a ton. Stanley Tucci. It is Tony Shalhoub.
It's a boxing movie, right?
No, it's a restaurant movie.
Oh, my bad.
He has talked about this so many times on the podcast.
Yeah, they play two brothers who run an Italian restaurant in the 50s who just need like one more big meal to make it. And it's a great food movie. It's a great brothers fighting movie. Have you not seen this movie yet, James?
Never heard of this movie in my life.
This is I've talked about this so often.
Even Megan has talked about it.
Never heard of
it. I've
talked about it.
There's a famous dish called the timpano. I've made the timpano multiple times. I'm sure
you've talked about it on the show when you made the timpano.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk about it again because James is just going to forget about it anyway. So
in that case, we can tell him how it ends.
Oh yeah, it ends with the perfect omelet.
Yeah, they make the perfect omelet.
The perfect omelet. That's the end of the movie.
Now I remember it.
Yeah, it's the omelet movie.
Sounds riveting.
It really is. No, because like the omelet scene. Okay, now I'm going to talk about it. The omelet scene is this perfect, peaceful capper to what is like 90 minutes of chaos before it. This is not a food movie in the sense of like food porn, right? The food's really good, but it's the chaos of the kitchen and of the night and of these two brothers who get along but also don't have the same vision.
It's set in one night.
Yeah, so it's called Big Night.
Where does the boxing come in?
There is no boxing.
James.
It's not a boxing movie. It is a period piece. It also takes place in the 50s. That's another thing you got to know. Yeah. All right. But a movie that I have not seen, but I'm intrigued by, and it's because of both the cast and the director, is 1991's The Fisher King, directed by Terry Gilliam, starring Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges. I know very little about this movie, so I'm going to kind of read to you the plot description that's on Letterboxd. Two troubled men face their terrible destinies and events of their past as they join together on a mission to find the Holy Grail and thus to save themselves. And all I got to say, last time Terry Gilliam made a Holy Grail movie, he hit it out the park. So let's see if lightning can strike twice on this one.
What was it called again?
The Fisher King.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know this movie?
I know of it. I don't think I've ever seen it. Robin Williams, right?
Yeah. And Jeff Bridges, directed by Terry Gilliam.
I've seen like 10 minutes in the middle from like when it was on TV once, and I was very confused. This is a movie to watch from the beginning.
It's about a guy who like
who like
sure,
audits I'll start
Harvard.
From the beginning.
It's about a homeless guy who audits Harvard classes, right?
It's about two troubled men who face their terrible destinies.
Yeah, one of them I think is a Harvard professor, and one of them's a homeless guy.
By looking at the screen grab, I would say if that's the case, Jeff Bridges looks like the professor, and Robin Williams wearing the poncho and fingerless gloves is probably the homeless guy. But I could be wrong. Don't judge the book by its cover.
Right. It's one of those things where like they're like, people that go to Harvard are the elite,
Yes.
whatever, rich kids basically. And this homeless guy walks off the street and like gets the best grade in the class, even though he's not even attending. He's just going to the classes on his own. And so it like warps everybody's idea of, a homeless person can be smart type of thing.
Are you saying that Good Will Hunting and Matt Damon, that hack, ripped off the Fisher King?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Having not seen The Fisher King, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what I'm saying.
I will say the 10 minutes I've seen of it, that does not describe whatsoever. It's more like he's insane and he's trying to get out of an insane asylum or something like that.
I'm just saying right now, James is starting the campaign, if I'm correct, of take back Matt and Ben's Oscar, because those are the adapted screenplay.
I mean, throw in an insane asylum, and I'm way more interested in this movie than the one I thought it was.
Okay. I don't know. They have troubled pasts and terrible destinies. Insane Asylum could fit into that.
If they really wanted to put it over the top, just put a perfect omelet and a boxing match in it, and I'm there.
Again, I don't know where this boxing match is coming from, but I can give you the omelet. Not a problem.
100%. My number 2 is from 2003. It was released in September. It's Lost in Translation, which is a top 100 movie for me, directed by Sofia Coppola. Probably the first Coppola movie I saw, Sofia Coppola movie. And I remember seeing it in a movie theater that had like 2 other people in it. And at the time, it felt like an indie film, even though I think it has a major, Focus Features. It's not an indie label, but it's a indie adjacent, right? Isn't Focus like a Sony, or is that Disney?
I don't think Focus is Disney, no.
NBC. Focus Features is owned by NBC.
Well, NBC Universal, probably.
Right.
It's probably part of
It's
Universal.
their indie label, but they're a major studio. So anyway, this movie stars Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson, Giovanni Ribisi, Anna Faris is in it briefly. And it's just a great, charming, complicated relationship movie. You got gender relations. You've got, I don't know, what do you call it when it's a difference in age? Generational issues. And also, what do you call it when you're like the fish out of the water in another country?
Fish out of the water?
Sure. Fish out of the water issues. We're gonna go with that for the sake of time. And perfectly acted, great, memorable ending, cool visual style, especially at the time, very unique. And I love it. One of my favorite films of all time, Lost in Translation.
What you could say like a clash of cultures, maybe.
Sure. Culture clash.
Or culture shock. Maybe culture shock is the word.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's shocked in the movie about the culture, but
No. I think culture shock is just when you're somewhere new and you are. I think fish out of water and culture shock are synonymous.
right. But the 2 people in Lost in Translation are not surprised to be in Japan. You know what I mean? Like they're not in culture shock. They're just in a different culture.
But then are they fish out of water then if they're not in shock?
They're fish out of water in that like they're not attempting to integrate into the culture. You know
So
what I
it's
mean?
culture numbness then.
Sure.
I think this movie is about none of those things. It's about connection.
Right.
It's like trying to connect with another human being.
Who at surface you might not have a lot in common with.
My number 2 is Spirited Away, the Hayao Miyazaki film. It's, I think, his best film. It is so good. And I don't really even care about anime that much, but it's really great. But I want to talk about my number 2 that I haven't seen. And I think that I would probably really enjoy this. It's called The Motorcycle Diaries, starring Gael Garcia Bernal. And this is a period piece from 2004 where Che Guevara is on a motorcycle with a friend traveling around South America in the 1950s.
Che Guevara.
Is it Che
Elijah
Guevara?
Ford.
No, remember I butchered it like a week or two ago.
Oh, gotcha.
It's just Che Guevara. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a movie that just looks really good, and I would be very interested to see it. Have any of you seen The Motorcycle Diaries?
Is that a two-parter?
Nope.
Or is there
No.
a different Che movie that's a two-parter?
There's a different Shay movie.
Okay.
The much longer one that's a 2-parter. This is just a normal movie.
I think
Well, that one's the motorcycle novel.
The Shay movie that you're talking about, I believe.
I think this is called Che. Che Part 1 and Che Part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I own it on Criterion Blu-ray.
I think that's a
for some reason.
Soderbergh movie, right? Shay?
Yeah.
Or movies, rather. Another movie with a solid Letterboxd score, 3.9 for The Motorcycle Diaries.
I've only heard good things about it.
I do like Gael Garcia Bernal.
I added it to my watch list.
Apparently he's 5'7".
I believe that. Do you guys ever watch Mozart in the Jungle?
No.
It was an early Amazon series.
I remember
And
it.
he was the new conductor of the New York Philharmonic or something like that. And he was kind of bringing in new ideas to the orchestra. And at first, there was a pushback to like this new, young, non-white European, conductor. And then slowly they kind of absorbed his ideas and came around.
I'm boycotting creative projects about conductors.
I know.
I'm officially
but
anti-conductor.
I realized the minute I said about conductor, James, like, well, what's the point?
Mm-hmm. That's my sentiment exactly. What's the point?
Exactly.
Of
I know.
conductors?
So I'm not going to sell you on it because you see no value in the work. So
Didn't you like Tar?
Yeah, I went back into Letterboxd and gave that a half a star.
bump or drop?
Total.
Oh, total. Okay. You're just anti. It doesn't matter the quality of anything else. It's about conductors. Well, man, you are not going to be happy about my number 1 then. We're not there quite yet.
Anything that
So
that depicts them as essential, half star for existing.
Well, my number 2 is the previously mentioned Goodfellas, Martin Scorsese, number 49 on my top 100. Not much to add to this conversation, but a movie that I haven't seen that I'm curious about, that's also directed by Martin Scorsese, is 1985's After Hours. And I'm mostly curious about this movie because of the poster or the VHS box. Because I remember seeing this VHS, this box like at the rental store all the time as a kid.
All the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is, if you imagine it, there's an alarm clock. And on the top of the alarm clock, instead of there being like a button, there is a man's head. And then a woman's fingers are pinching the man's head. And for me, this is just a very distinct VHS cover. I have no idea what this movie is about. I didn't even know it was directed by Martin Scorsese until, I was more aware of who he was as a director. But I think just for nostalgic purposes, I kind of want to see this movie because I know that VHS box cover so well.
What movie was it?
It's called After Hours. I think it's about a bad date.
It's
From
like a date
reading-
that won't end.
Yeah.
Nice. 3 stars. That's what I gave.
I've always kind of want to do that list of like our just top 10 I don't know, iconic or nostalgic VHS box covers, because there's so many that like I just remember seeing as a kid. Is always standing out to me. Like Evil Dead 2, right? With the skull with the eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know what that movie was, but knew that box cover immediately.
Sure.
All right, James.
My most.
We are desperate to know your favorite September.
Can anybody
release.
make a guess? Are we going to guess?
Well, I don't even know it came out September, so I don't know what month to choose anymore.
Well, every movie could qualify potentially.
I'm pretty sure.
Then it's gonna be Empire Strikes Back then.
I'm pretty sure in the United States this movie came out in September, because this is the kind of movie that comes out in September for sure.
Oh, sure. What is it?
It's my 122nd favorite movie of all time. Happens to be my favorite September movie release of all time. Paranormal Activity from 2007.
Wait, did you order these by like your top 600?
I ordered them by
No, he didn't.
by star
Okay.
ranking and then personal in the moment preference.
Okay, because if this is number 122. If you had no movies in your top 100 that came out in September, that is statistically amazing.
No, he's already had movies in his top 100.
Oh,
Sure.
okay, all right.
I don't know if they're higher than 122. I've already had movies in my top 100.
That you mentioned.
Okay.
So, Paranormal Activity, found footage movie, the first in a sequence of films that should have ended at 3. Just the perfect example of a no budget movie that's setting out to do one thing well, and it does that one thing about as well as anybody could imagine. And it's super inventive. It took what was kind of a tried and true genre and reinvented it in a way without resorting to shock value, instead leaning into the things that already made the found footage genre good. Like, good found footage movies existed before Paranormal Activity. But what Paranormal Activity did is, instead of going more extreme, instead they pulled everything back and got to the essence of why found footage horror is effective as a presentation vehicle for horror movies. It's a movie that has jump scares in it, but telegraphs it through the soundtrack of the film, through the score, which is almost non-existent in the movie. So you'll never be surprised by a jump scare, but because of the way they telegraph them, and because of the way that they always pay off the telegraphing of them, it makes, when the event actually happens, the scare actually happen, that much more effective and like sticky, I would say. Like movies that specifically horror movies that have jump scares in them, especially found footage movies, it scares you in the moment, but it doesn't stick with you. It just rolls off your back and you're right back into the movie. With Paranormal Activity, it's pretty disturbing, I would say. Not because they put something super graphic in front of you. Most of the time, they literally put nothing in front of you. All they did was play up the music and then slam a door. And that, the construction of the movie, again, so well done on no budget from a somewhat amateur filmmaker. I don't think it's his first film, but certainly his first one that got any notice whatsoever. Oren Peli, I think is the guy's name. Just really super well executed, a great thriller, and kind of the entry movie for found footage movies. Because like Blair Witch, also good, but like some people get sick watching Blair Witch. Most of Paranormal Activity is on a tripod. Like a good deal of it. The moment it comes off the tripod, it's way less shaky cam and far more intense, because you've already had 65% of a movie not handheld on a tripod. So yeah, just really well made, and my number one September release film. Also felt like
Nice.
the definition of a September release
I'm
for me.
about to say the exact same thing.
For
yeah,
me.
that's the kind of movie you're like, let's put this in September. It's the budget's super low. If it hits, great. If it flops, we're not losing anything.
It has a great backstory too. Like, they bought the movie, played at film festivals earlier on in the year, got a ton of buzz. A major studio bought it, was going to remake it. In fact, I think Steven Spielberg was like involved somehow with them buying it.
Okay.
Not that he was going to remake it, but that he was championing it, that they should buy it. The studio was going to remake it, and then the filmmaker fought for them just releasing as is. He's like, dude, I made it for like 60 grand. Like, just release it. You'll get your money back, guaranteed. And they did, and then it became, by percentage, the most successful film of all time, budget versus box office. So anyway, my number one. Zach?
Nice. My number one is Amadeus, about Mozart. I really like that movie a lot. I talk about it a lot. But instead, my number one that I haven't seen is called Secrets and Lies. This is a 1996 movie directed by Mike Leigh. And this one really stood out to me. So it has a 4.2 on Letterboxd, which is very high for Letterboxd. And this is the plot description. After her adoptive mother dies, Hortense, a successful black optometrist, seeks out her birth mother, and she's shocked when her research leads her to a working class white woman, Cynthia. And I was like, that's an interesting premise. And then I started reading the reviews, and it's like, oh, it really makes me want to see this movie. One person says, apparently it won the Palme d'Or. I can believe it won the Palme d'Or for the cafe scene alone. That just like that sentence makes me need to see the cafe scene, you know? Because I love a perfect scene. And then it goes on, it says, it's the perfect blend of offensively hilarious and tragically sad. There are truly very few performances better than Brenda Blythen as Cynthia Rose. So very intrigued by this movie. And it sounds like it's just kind of like a very simple, film that really deals a lot with interpersonal relationship and stuff like that. I'm totally into it. So Secrets and Lies from 1996.
I'd watch this as well. Although 142 minutes is pretty long.
It's pretty long, but
I need some superhero fights in my 142-minute movies.
It's true, but could you imagine this movie at under 2 hours? It's hard to wrap my head around that.
I think I could.
I think I could too. I mean, I'm hoping all 142 minutes are awesome, but
or the cafe scene. Yeah.
Is there a dragon at the cafe? That's what I want to know.
No spoilers.
Well, my number one is not 142 minutes. It is 160 minutes. It's also Zach's number one. This is Amadeus. James, I know that you don't like this movie, even though it's about a composer. The composer also conducts. So
who
at that
said
point,
I don't like this movie?
Well, it's about a composer / conductor. So what's the point?
He's a composer more than a conductor.
I mean, back in that era, they're usually one and the same.
Right, but I consider him more of a composer.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, composers were conductors. It was that it was a dual job.
I understand what you're saying,
music,
and
then you conducted your music.
saying I'm ignoring the composer side of him.
Oh, okay. So you can choose. You can put on your blinders, your conductor blinders, when you want to.
Have you seen Amadeus? Is it more about him being a composer or a conductor?
I would say it's about, both. Like
it's more about him being a composer. You're crazy.
The image, though, the still that's on Letterboxd is Mozart conducting, not composing, conducting.
People like composer movies or conducting movies. They don't like composer movies. That's why they put that on the poster.
James, how do you feel about train conductor movies?
Well, they actually do something, so I like that.
Well, the trains are automated. They go, they stop.
They weren't always automated.
Neither were the orchestras.
The orchestras were never automated.
Exactly. That's why you need the conductor.
They're all individually talented. They don't need a conductor.
Yeah, like a sports team doesn't need a coach.
Yeah. They know the plays. Why is that person out there anyway in the first place?
I agree. We should get rid of coaches.
Yeah. Let's just get rid of like all leadership. Just let people organize.
Kyle, just tell us which movie you want to talk about other than Amadeus.
Okay, fine. The movie I want to talk about is 1980s Ordinary People.
I've seen it.
You've seen it. All right. So this is a Robert Redford movie. I believe it's about grief, so it looks kind of depressing. But it's also a movie that's on a bunch of lists. It stars Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore, Judd Hirsch, and Emmett Walsh. So it's got a great cast. I can mention Robert Redford directed it. I believe it's based on a novel also. And this is the movie that I have confused with Don't Look Now, which is another Donald Sutherland movie.
This is so different.
They're very different, but they're both are like posters with a picture frame on the cover. One's got blood coming out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I just want to read a snippet of a review. This is a 4.5-star review. And this review starts, ordinary people came out in a non-snowy month in 1980. So there's a very strong chance this is actually a September release.
That's great.
Yeah. This review goes on just to list other movies that came out around the same era. So I'm not quite sure why they gave this movie 4.5 stars, but this person has seen lots of movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have it logged in Letterboxd as 3 stars and can't remember a frame of this movie. I don't know anything about it.
It's basically about a family that's kind of ripped apart by like someone in the family dying tragically. It's super depressing.
I don't know why I would have even watched
So
it.
excited to see this movie. But I really am, though.
I think I've decided I don't like Robert Redford directed movies.
Really?
Well,
I mean, I've only seen 3, but
which 3 have you seen?
Ordinary People, The
Okay.
Conspirator, which is, I guess, about Lincoln. That's in the poster. Don't remember that one either. And Quiz Show, which I like Quiz Show, but the other 2, I don't know.
He didn't direct the Brad Pitt spy thriller one from like the 2000s.
That one was good.
I'm seeing A River Runs Through It, Legend of Bagger Vance, Lions and Lambs, The Horse Whisperer, The Company You Keep, and The Milagro Beanfield War.
Oh, yeah. You should see A River Runs Through It.
Really? That's worth
Yeah.
seeing?
Oh, yeah. It's a very chill movie. It's about a lot of fly fishing in it, but you do
A lot of
have
fly fishing. A
is
lot
it-
of sunburns.
but you got Brad Pitt and Tom Skerritt.
I'm more likely to see The Company You Keep just because it's got Shia LaBeouf in it.
You are obsessed with Shia LaBeouf. I forgot about that.
Not obsessed, but I do like me some Shia LaBeouf. This was like in his like I'm gonna be the next it guy era from 2012, like before he really went off rails.
I've seen The Company You Keep.
And
I gave it 2.5 stars.
all right,
And I do not remember why.
rain on my parade. It's
Obviously, I don't remember this movie at all. Like I had to look up, have I seen this movie before?
It sounds
have.
awesome. The tagline is the greatest manhunt in history, and the plot synopsis is a former weather underground activist goes on the run from a journalist who discovers his identity. It's an eco movie.
Yeah, and it's unmemorable if I had to give any review for it. It's not good. It's not bad. I just have seen it.
Oh, it's got Anna Kendrick in it. I'm definitely watching this tonight. And Terrence
Like-
Howard. Maybe he does New Math in it. When do you think he
Nice.
figured out the New Math thing? Right? Or has he always had this theory and like Hollywood just didn't know because he kept it to himself?
What new math thing? Can you fill me in?
Isn't
here?
Terrence
Oh.
Howard the guy who claims 1 + 1 is not 2?
He,
Oh, sure. But that's
yeah.
not new. Yeah.
he went on Seth Rogen. Not Seth Rogen.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
No, okay, yeah, I watched that. He's had these ideas for a decade. He came up with a lot of it, but a lot of it he gets from other people. For sure.
Ooh, Britt Marling's in it too, Zach. You like Britt Marling. You might have
She's
to
a-
watch this.
Very talented writer, actress. Mm.
Yeah, she's in that cult movie that was really good.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's in a lot.
Sound of My Voice.
She's in Another Earth too, which is really good.
Right. That's
Where there's like 2 parallel Earths.
on my watch list too. I need to watch that.
Yeah. Guys, can I ask what, in honor of September?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing that's ever happened in a September?
Oh, I don't. Like,
I can give you some candidates if nothing comes to mind.
sure.
Please.
I can tell you my least favorite thing that happened in September.
Yeah, I could tell you my least favorite thing.
Wait, let's all say it together and let's see.
No,
Make sure we all
right.
feel the same
I think
way.
we all
so.
know.
Okay.
I think I do know what you're talking about
Mhm.
for the least favorite. I was trying to stick to the positive or whatever.
Sure. Okay. Would you like to give some? I thought I talk like personally or like world events that happen.
No,
in
world
September?
events.
Okay.
So
let's give us some options.
I'll give you
here.
some options and you pick your favorite.
Okay. Okay.
The signing of the U.S. Constitution.
I mean, I wasn't around for it, so
I feel like that
That's
was a
true.
positive. Did it really happen
Yeah.
if you weren't around for it?
I mean, if I don't see it happen, then I don't believe that it's actually happened.
Right.
So
So you think it's unsigned?
I'm just saying I don't have all the facts.
I need to do more
Uh,
research on
I
Facebook.
need to do more research on this. Right.
The fall of the Berlin Wall.
I feel like that was a net positive for the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not
Is it
my
in the
favorite
running?
thing, but
For your favorite? Okay.
I don't know.
What about the discovery of penicillin?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh. I mean, I do dislike bacteria.
Can anyone guess the decade that we discovered penicillin?
The 50s.
No.
James thinks the 50s.
No. Wait, are we, so you're talking 20th century?
Discovered or it became like ubiquitous?
Oh, now he's backtracking.
Discovered.
Now he's
Discovered.
backtracking.
50s.
Discovered.
I
50s.
think it was the 20s if we're sticking to the 20th century.
It was the 20s.
Yeah.
Because they definitely had it in World War II.
All right. I wasn't there.
But
so
not World War One.
cannot confirm.
What about the founding of Google?
You
That
know,
happened in September.
that was. I'm starting to feel like that's no longer a positive thing.
Oh, really?
Well, you would have
I'm starting
rather
to.
it had been created in October?
No, I'm just starting to question the internet in general.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
is the internet a net positive? I don't know the answer to that. I
Yeah.
think the jury's still. You think the
Yeah.
internet's a net positive?
Yeah, indisputably.
Oh, absolutely.
Indisputably.
Are you crazy?
Okay.
100%. I mean,
What
some
is the- what
bad
are the
things came
negatives?
with it for sure, but the idea that like
Okay,
you can talk to anybody around the world.
that's true.
I mean, that's-
Okay, let me narrow. Maybe I don't know if
I'm
social
talking
media.
to you over the internet. Yeah,
Yeah.
social media.
Okay, I
yeah.
don't know if social media is a net positive. Let's narrow it a little bit.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
we could
But
we could
Google-
argue that.
I think Google, they shuttered their social media probably for those same reasons.
Yeah,
right?
because no one used it.
Okay, so do you think we've hit your favorite September thing yet, or should we go on?
I mean, I think right now Berlin Wall might be
All right, this might beat it though.
okay.
The announcement of the Emancipation Proclamation.
Oh, that's a good one too.
It's a good one.
Good
it's
one.
a good one. What about the launch of Voyager 1?
No.
Ooh, I do like space. I do like exploration, and I like golden records.
It is the only man-made object to leave our solar system and enter interstellar space.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And I really
Uh,
hope that aliens have
not
LP
that cool.
players. Wait, that's
pretty
not
cool,
cool.
James.
That's nothing that human has ever created has left
Yeah.
the solar system minus one object. That's pretty amazing. That like there is now something that we made that is outside our solar system that can conceivably be found at some point. Like that's
and
an
eventually
awesome thing.
it's going to hit something.
It has to hit something.
What's the
eventually.
record?
Oh,
What?
so you don't know about the golden record?
No.
James, the golden record.
It's a literal golden record.
Carl Sagan.
Yeah. And it has like messages from Earth and songs and words. And it's in a bunch of languages in case the aliens don't speak English, they speak Spanish instead. Like that seems a little narrow sighted, not going to lie. But
Yeah.
like, the idea is like it's this physical LP record that is on Voyager that is, you know, if some civilization finds it, hopefully they then have the technology to figure out how to like listen to it and then how to decode it. But
And it's got like a picture of like two naked humans on it and stuff.
like holding hands.
It's great.
It's a fun fact, but I'm not sure it's that cool.
All right. Well, what about this for cool? The first summit of Mount Everest.
By Edmund Hillary.
No. By Maurice Herzog and Louis Lachanel.
I thought Edmund Hillary was the first to summit Everest.
Chiwetel Elijah 4.
No, I'm saying the name correctly. I'm just getting my facts wrong. Who's Edmund Hillary?
Edmund Hillary was the first climber confirmed to reach the summit of Mount Everest.
Okay, thank you. So again,
so
I don't trust
what?
any of your facts anymore. Did Berlin Wall even happen this September? Both of you guys. This is maybe the most flawed episode of Cinereelists to date.
No, I'm sure there's one that's more flawed.
Wait, so who are those guys then? Are they the second people?
You know what? I will tell you, and I'm going to use Google, even though you decry the use of Google.
Oh yeah, can you bigot?
Can I bigot?
Bigot. Bing it.
Bing? Yeah, I would love to Bing it, man.
Okay, cool.
Google's way less evil than Microsoft.
I mean, yeah, but they also like their CEO is now the old ad revenue guy. So I feel like their values are less in
I agree, but
information and more in how we keep making money off this thing.
considering who was in charge when Google became popular, I think they were a net positive.
Okay. Updated fact. The people I talked about were the first ones in September
September.
to climb Annapurna,
So
which
not-
is also in the Himalayas.
okay, yeah, not impressed by that one. Does not beat
That's
the
not your
Berlin
favorite?
Wall or Emancipation Proclamation.
That doesn't beat Emancipation Proclamation?
No, not
Okay.
some random guys climbed Annapurna in September.
All right. All right.
We are definitely entering after show content at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Although we
All right, so
never
James-
gave you an answer. Maybe you go first, Zach. What's the coolest thing that you've mentioned on this podcast that happened in September?
It's probably the release of Zoolander.
Mine is the release of Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mine is the Belgium release of Finding Nemo.
Nice. Awesome.
Great.
Well, that was episode 647 of the Cinereelists. We appreciate your listenership. Don't forget, there's a video version of the podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. Support us on Patreon. Leave us an Apple Podcast review or send us a listener email to heyguys@cinereelist.com. All of those things are in the description of this episode. You could also follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Cinereelists, or you could follow me on my personal Twitter, Letterboxd, or Blue Sky account at YoJRB.
You can follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaban.
Find me on Letterboxd at Peter SKB.
We will be back next week with the new Netflix film Rebel Ridge, directed by Jeremy Saulnier, who is the guy who directed Blue Ruin and Green Room. It's been a while since I've seen a movie from him,
And it's been a while.
and I can't wait.
I know you can't call the movie this, but you should call it Ruby Ridge. It's a color,
Sure.
but then Ruby Ridge is also like a massacre in Montana. So
Oh, because then
you know,
he'd have a trilogy of color films.
a color trilogy.
All right.
But yeah, then people think about it to the Montana massacre.
Yeah, Ruby
so-
Ridge is like a real thing, so I think he'd have
Yeah.
to make it about that. Which it might be kind of like a surrogate
it could
version
be.
of that. I really don't know anything about Ruby Ridge
Yeah.
or Rebel Ridge. But I'm into it just by the director alone. So check that out on Netflix if you want to do a little bit of homework, because that's the movie we're talking about next week. We'll see you guys there. Until then, keep it cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.